On May 23, 2024, the world lost a pioneering filmmaker, Morgan Spurlock. Most widely known for his groundbreaking documentary, Super Size Me, Spurlock was a larger-than-life personality who battled demons that may have in fact led to his early demise. A meteoric rise met by a self-induced fall, Spurlock was the perfect embodiment of the tortured artist, using his work as a lightning rod for positivity, while struggling to keep a lid on all that was bubbling underneath.
What would happen if I eat nothing but McDonald's for 30 days straight?
Separating man's capacity for good from his proclivity for bad is part and parcel for any storyteller. Can we find humanity, empathy, or even inspiration in flawed figures? Of course we can. It's one of the oldest tricks in the storytelling book. The tragic hero is a classic literary device that represents so much of the rest of us. Don't we all have just a little bit of the dark side within us? So that's what I'm doing today. Trying to celebrate the man's accomplishments and what I learned from him, while acknowledging that he, like the rest of us,
Super Size Me,
was a real piece of work in progress. Morgan Valentine Spurlock was born on November 7, 1970 in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and grew up in nearby Beckley. Born to a middle-class family, his mother was an English teacher and his father owned an auto repair shop. A theater kid, passionate about acting and storytelling from a young age, Spurlock graduated from Woodrow Wilson High School in Beckley, West Virginia. He would later state that he was sexually abused as a child, which led to a lifelong struggle with his relationship behaviors and a dependency on alcohol to curb his anxiety and depression. Wanting to get as far away from West Virginia as possible, Morgan set his eyes westward to Hollywood and the prestigious University of Southern California's film school. Unfortunately, Spurlock was rejected an incredible 5 times. So, like any artist hitting a wall, he pivoted. Applying to and getting accepted by New York University's Tisch School of the Arts, Spurlock graduated with a BFA in film in 1993. Determined to tell stories, his first real recognition came as a playwright, winning awards for his original piece, The Phoenix, at both the New York International Fringe Festival in 1999 and the Route 66 American Playwriting Competition in 2000. But his heart was still in film. So in 2004, he co-founded the production studio Warrior Poets, which would be the production studio for the films he subsequently directed and produced throughout his career. Morgan had early internet luck with the series I Bet You Will, convincing people to do outrageous things for cold, hard cash. This edge of reality formula became the precursor for his now globally famous documentary, Super Size Me. It was my senior year of high school, and this was one of the last movies I saw in theater with my friends before going off to film school. We saw Super Size Me at a little independent theater, and when it was over, we joked about stopping at a McDonald's drive-thru on the way home. But more importantly, we talked about how crazy, or even brave Spurlock was in making the movie this way. I had already been inspired by other great documentaries from people like Michael Moore and Werner Herzog's Grizzly Man, but in Spurlock, I saw something more. I saw myself. It was sort of an epiphany for me. Until Super Size Me, I had documentary filmmaking all wrong. I thought it was either some boring archival footage with slow Ken Burns effects across old photographs, or somebody causing a scene and getting kicked out of somewhere they were trying to get answers from. Spurlock showed me that documentaries could be so much more, and that they were always inherently skewed through the perspective of the filmmaker. So instead of hiding behind the camera and pretending he wasn't there, he put himself directly in front of it, flaws and all. That's what we thought was so crazy, or brave, and it touched a chord that I hadn't quite been exposed to yet. But it did end up influencing both my fascination with documentaries in general, as well as the long-held secret desire to make one myself someday. By immersing himself so deeply in his subjects, and putting himself out there as a character for us to ride along shotgun with and root for, he brought a unique, personal touch to his work. Shows like 30 Days and Inside Man took that to an even deeper level, connecting with the heartland of America and giving us a window into the lives of so many people we may never get to meet. And in doing so, he continued to expose himself, warts and all, for the world to see and ultimately to judge. Perhaps the most important thing I learned from Morgan Spurlock is the power of authenticity. In Super Size Me, he didn't just talk about the health impacts of fast food, he lived it, eating only McDonald's for 30 straight days. This commitment to living his message made his work feel so much more raw and real, in a time when documentaries were starting to feel maybe a bit too polished and overproduced. Where reality content has increasingly felt manufactured, Morgan Spurlock's unfiltered honesty was a breath of fresh air. He showed us that true impact can come from being unapologetically real. This lesson of embracing authenticity, even when it's uncomfortable, is one that continues to guide my own work, and perhaps could guide a little bit of yours. Authenticity is not just about truth and storytelling. It's about courage, vulnerability, and the power to inspire real change within ourselves or others. It's important to acknowledge Spurlock's transparency about his personal battles. His successful career was drowned out in the wake of the Me Too movement, by his own admission. He also reflected on being abused as a child and his 30-year battle with alcohol and infidelity, his struggle with alcoholism, which he faced even during the making of Super Size Me.
Keep drinking, you'll die.
Added a layer of vulnerability to his work that many found relatable. Did bearing his soul bring his red-hot career to a screeching halt? Absolutely. But I don't think it burned his legacy. Morgan Spurlock's influence on the documentary genre is undeniable. His breakout film inspired so many others, and even saw a rise in homage filmmaking, where everything was the next Super Size Me. He inspired countless filmmakers to push boundaries and take bold, immersive approaches to storytelling. He inspired millions of everyday people to take a closer look at their health and what they put into their bodies, constantly challenging the status quo as a wildly imperfect person himself. It was undeniable that his work was always coming from a place of love and curiosity and passion. As we continue to tell our own stories, let's carry forward Morgan's lessons of authenticity, being real, and living with passion. As Morgan once said,
"Everyone has a story worth telling. Don't be afraid to share yours."
He lived and died by those words. And Morgan believed that yes, even you watching this right now has the ability to make something truly touching, inspirational, and maybe even viral, if you just shoot from the heart.